Hello, can you all hear me on this mic?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, great. Starting just a little bit early, so we'll let the folks that are coming in, they got about 30 seconds to be on time, but thank you all for being here. Last session of the conference, happy to see all these faces. Wasn't sure how many of you would all stick around, but in case you didn't know, today's going to be a bit of a think tank session, so I'll be presenting just very briefly at the top of this session, but really having all of you talk to one another and engage with one another, brainstorm, bring some of the ideas that you heard from this conference together, share what you've already been doing in the space when it comes to reducing waste, when it comes to building circularity for your tribe, for your community. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about what CalRecycle is doing. My name is Katrina Lenny-Koenig. I'm the Deputy Director of our new Office of Environmental Justice, Tribal Relations and Education. I call it the Office of Social Change because that's what we're here to do. And this is my team over here. We've got a good crew. So I've been building my team just recently. I started just a little bit under a year. Before that, I was at the Energy Commission. Maybe have met some of you in the energy space before. Trying to do big things now when it comes to really getting at the root cause of what challenges we're facing, and it's overconsumption, waste economy that we have built today, and we're working at developing those solutions. And I love having all of these minds in this room to start thinking about that, to bring some of these ideas home, and to share ideas with one another. We had some great presentations on composting, had some great presentations on greenhouses, on food sovereignty, on waste transfer stations, on recycling, etc. All these amazing initiatives that tribes are doing throughout the state of California. We want to uplift, support that work, bring all of you together, bring those ideas together, and really build upon that. I see some of the presenters from earlier today, so happy to see all of you here. Did you guys all raise your hands when I said, all right, great? So those are the folks that are going to be helping me facilitate this think tank session. So next slide, please. All right, this is where we're at today. This is our disposable economy. It's an extraction base. We continue to extract resources. It's a linear system. It goes into our industry. We make money off of the extraction that happens. We distribute all of that stuff, and that stuff ends up in landfills, ends up in seas, ends up polluting wildlife, ends up in our bodies, apparently, when we think about microplastics, right? So this is where we're at today. We want to get away from this. Next slide. All right, so this is California. This is our waste generation and recycling report from 2022. It takes us some time to process the data, so this is the data that we have out. 53% of our waste goes into landfills still to this day. 6% of I'll just say 6.3 pounds of trash per person per day is generated. So just think about that you're generating usually 6.3 pounds of trash. We have a 41% recycling rate. 14% of those recycled goods are exported to be recycled. And 25.8% of recycling, source reduction, compost, anaerobic digestion, and mulch. So we're working on building this. So some of the recycling numbers should be going up over time with the programs that we're installing, but there's still obviously a long ways for us to go. It's not true that we're not recycling anything. So there's some people that kind of given up on recycling. We are still doing that work. And I want to just say that those systems are still there. We should still be using them. We should be sorting our waste. We should be putting them in the right bins. We should be keeping them clean so they're more easily recycled and put back into our system, less resources extracted from there. Next slide. This is where we want to go. I borrowed this from Philadelphia. This is not California's circular economy, but I really like this image. And what it does is we're trying to keep all of these materials that have been extracted at one point in time, keep it in this loop, right? Reuse it, remake it, keep it going for as long as we can and for with as little inputs as possible. So whenever we make materials, we're putting in energy, we're putting in time, we're putting in resources, we're putting in new materials, we're extracting new materials. All of you know what harm that causes. And so what we'd like to do now is kind of create, almost like creating the mine of what's already out in society, using those materials that are already out there being circulated to be utilized to create new goods and keep it out of the natural environment. Next slide. So the way that we're working to do that in California is we're developing a zero waste plan and strategy. This is our roadmap to zero waste in California. It's our roadmap to a circular economy. And what it tries to do is kind of move things up this zero waste hierarchy. So where do we start? You guys all know reduce, recycle, reuse. That's kind of like the old school way of thinking about it. This is kind of the new school way of thinking about it. And so California is working to develop a zero waste plan. I get passionate, so you might hear me shaking a little bit. We're working to develop this plan by 2026. So we're looking to get input, feedback. We'll have a draft out. We've done some listening sessions in this, and we have this session here. We'll be bringing this conversation to tribes. And we're also zooming into certain ways of getting at zero waste, like through compost and plastics, through other initiatives. So all of your input, feedback, engagement with CalRecycle really helps us to do this better. I see tribes as a tremendous resource in helping us get to zero waste, in innovating in this space, and really emphasizing the necessity of us getting to a waste-free future. So rethinking and redesigning products, making sure that we're not developing products that are not able to be reutilized, that are less impact, et cetera. And so kind of going down this. All of you, how many of you have seen this before? Zero waste hierarchy? Yeah, at CalRecycle, we think everybody's seen this, but I'm from energy, so I didn't see this until I came to CalRecycle. So thank you, brave souls, for not raising your hands and lying about seeing this. But next slide. All right, Senate Bill 54. So now zooming into plastics. This is one material that creates tremendous harm. We know that. Why plastics? For the fossil fuel industry, for them, they're projecting it to be their largest growth sector. How is fossil fuel going to be able to continue to be profitable? Plastics, plastic industry. So there's a lot going on to kind of step up and face that fossil fuel industry. I think Fred in his presentation earlier talked about California suing ExxonMobil around plastics and greenwashing around that. So there's a lot of lies when it comes to recycling plastics and the recyclability of plastics, and we're not going to just let that go. So what Senate Bill 54 does, it's one of the strategies that California has adopted, other states have adopted to get at challenging materials. We develop these extended producer responsibility policies. And what they do is they put the responsibility back onto the producer. You're producing plastics, you need to be responsible for those plastics. How are you going to make sure that those plastics get recycled? How are you going to make sure that you reduce how much plastics you're putting into your Amazon box when you send it out, et cetera? So those people that are distributing plastics and making consumers bear the burden of that waste, they're being held responsible by this extended producer responsibility program. We have it around other materials like paints, mattresses, etc. This is plastics, this is big. We're now moving into textiles. So that's a new policy. I didn't put it in our slides here, but we're looking at textiles too. So now people that produce and sell textiles here in California are going to have to be responsible for making sure that those textiles don't get dumped into landfills in Chile or shipped across the world to be somebody else's problem. Okay, so we want to make sure that they end up in responsible end markets, they're recycled, etc. We're looking to 100% recyclable single-use plastics and packaging, recyclable or compostable by 2032, 25% less packaging and single-use plastic overall, and then 65% of that recycled through SB54. Next slide.
I got a question.
Yep.
So why did CalRecycling pull out of just about every county a couple of years ago for recycling?
We didn't pull out.
You guys you gave up on just about all the counties.
Totally understand that. And I'll just say I'm not historical to CalRecycle. I'll ask if anybody else has, but definitely we're building up new recycling centers. So there's a new initiative to create dealer co-ops. So now anybody, essentially a large supermarket is going to be responsible to have a collection center to be able to collect recycling. So definitely our recycling system went to heck. Yeah, went to heck. It wasn't well managed.
Every county just got it.
They're far, they're hard to get to, they're not well managed, they're closed when you show up. It costs you more money to drive there than it does to get your money back.
But at least they run the counties, now you can't even find them in the counties. 'Cause you
Now you
gotta shut
can't
them
even
down.
find them. So some tribes have established recycling centers. I'm gonna give a shout out to Robinson Rancheria, for example, who's one of the only collection centers in Lake County. So there's definitely, that to me, tribes filling that need and that hole in their communities. Hard to reach, hard to get to, it's costly. So we're also working to develop new recycling centers, and there's requirements around dealer cooperatives, establishing either a dealer cooperative where, you know, let's say Safeway gets all together with like the different markets in the area and they create one collection center, but they have to have it within, I don't have all the stats and details about how many miles, but we're trying to make it more accessible.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not an ass.
Yeah, no, yeah, good. Yeah, thank you. All right. Let's see. So SB4 needs assessment. Fred popped this up. You can't use the QR code because it's got this next slide thing down there. But there is a place to comment on the needs assessment right now, a survey. Fred had everyone in this session answer that and do a big flood of tribal respondents on the needs assessment and say, hey, we need this, we need that when it comes to reducing plastics. We will also have listening sessions, engagement throughout this needs assessment process. We've got some contracts coming up. They're going to be kind of shaping the questions, and then we'll be getting out to tribes and make sure we get your input into that as well. But this is one easy way to get some early comments and just show that there's a real interest from tribes. The biggest thing that's coming out of SB54 is a $5 billion plastic pollution mitigation fund. $500 million will be spent over 10 years to help mitigate the impacts of plastics. That's a huge opportunity for tribes. A large percent of those funds will go into disadvantaged communities, and that includes tribes, federally recognized tribes under that, but also rural communities, low-income communities, etc. Next slide. I'm taking way longer than I wanted to, but all right, tribal composting needs assessment and permitting guide. We've got a guide on how to establish a small and medium composting facility. That was developed for local governments. It's all around like local permitting and so forth, but it also talks about best practices. How do you do it? What's the ratios? All those kind of things that they were talking about during that composting session when you're here. It's got a lot of that broken down, and so I want to share that resource. Well, what we realized when I kind of came in, they said, hey, we've got some extra funds, what can we do? They don't talk about how to do this on tribal lands, they don't talk about what tribes are interested in. So we did a phase 2 of this, and we're zooming into how we can set up small and medium composting facilities for those tribes that are interested in doing that, and how can we better support its CalRecycle. And we're looking to get input over this process and develop this kind of final permitting guide, needs assessment, et cetera. Help us also say, hey, we need more funds and investments to support tribes with their composting initiatives. Next slide. And that's Mia. Mia's lead helping the Tribal Composting Needs Assessment and Permitting Guide. So you got her here. She's super genius composting person too, so we can figure it out with her on that. This is me, Tribal Affairs. We've got a Tribal Affairs page just launched. Thank you, Sophie. Let's dive into the think tank. You guys ready? Any questions or before we go? All right, everybody's excited and enthusiastic to talk with their neighbors. Okay, we're gonna get on Menti because there may be people that are online with Menti. So just to get started, get people warmed up just a little bit. Greatest concerns related to trash pollution, popcorn, anybody? What's your biggest concern? Like what keeps you up at night when it comes to trash?
What gets put in it?
Huh?
What gets put in it?
What gets put in it? What gets put in the trash? Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
Why do they keep making it?
Why they keep making trash? Perfect. All right. Anybody? All right, no, because, it'll just be, for the folks, for the folks online, you're gonna go to menti.com and you're gonna put in this code 95260358. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into groups. Like if you can just turn to your name, feels like a good space for you, and just start talking, introduce yourselves, introduce each other, what organization you're with, your tribe, etc.
Yeah.
All right, we should have some partners together. Cheyenne, get some of the comments first. Yeah, but here. So I'm gonna do a little bit calling your attention back to the room. I'm gonna do a little bit of facilitation, so I don't have like my bell or anything to tell you all that. But what we're gonna do is move to the next slide on Menti. So everybody has in front of them kind of like the list of questions. It's just a framing question. There's some ideas of what else you can talk about down there. But what we're gonna do is have you all talk to each other, and then I'm gonna open it up and just see what anyone wants to share from that discussion, okay? So let's go ahead and just have people start with discussion prompts. One, share any current initiatives to reduce waste and build circular regenerative systems on tribal lands with your tribe. Anything, maybe if you're a government agency, what you've done to support that work, whatever it is, just really kind of just share, just get the thoughts flowing. And under that, there's a few kind of guiding questions. There's one person maybe can lead and just help move people along in that. You'll have like 5 to 6 minutes to discuss, and then take away some like key points that you might want to share out with the team. I think that we won't get every group to share, but those that are like eager beavers will be able to share after that. All right, so we'll go ahead and give you that time and space right now.
Just dropped my earring back somewhere.
Oh no, did you drop it?
The back of my earring, I was like messing with it and it popped off.
Maybe it's on you. Try to like stand up.
Oh,
Did you feel it?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. See,
I did.
I've done that so many times. Drop something, like look for it for like an hour, and
Yeah.
then realize it like fell in my shirt.
Right. It like fell into my shirt sleeves. Is this stuff interesting to you at all?
Oh yeah. It's keeping my attention.
It's kind of specific, but
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry about the slides at the beginning. I thought that I forgot I hadn't shown you guys the clicker.
Yeah, that, and I know the property of that like county recycling
yeah.
center because like I used to live on that same mountain
Oh, cool.
out there. So
Is
when
that-
as soon as I saw it, I was like, hey, wait,
Looks familiar.
yeah, I've been there.
Is that the one that's by Clear Lake or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like up near in between Middletown and Mount St. Helena. That's what it is.
It's really pretty.
It is. Yeah, I missed living up there. That was nice. We lived on top of Mount St. Helena, so it's like right before you hit Middletown and go towards Clear Lake and stuff. Yeah, we
It's like 3 hours away from us.
yeah, like a little less than 3 hours. Yeah. It was so nice though. We randomly found this place to rent. It was only $1,000 a month. It's like a 2-story, 5-bedroom house.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it was sitting on 3.5 acres. Yeah, it's
It's
like
hard to comprehend, right?
yeah for $1,000.
Living in San Francisco.
Oh yeah. I used to live in like Ocean Beach and like Daly City for a while, and like the rent there was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and you're paying so much rent. It's like
For what?
for this?
Yeah, it's like a closet, literally.
Let's go. How long were you up there?
What's that?
How long were you up there for?
Like 4 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like definitely.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was tragic how we got it though, because it was like it was a married couple's like what do you call it, like a summer getaway kind of thing, and like she was out there with him on a summer, and like this tow truck hit him while they were like riding bikes on Tubbs Lane, and like dude sprayed her. And she was like, I can't live in this town anymore. And like, yeah, she had to leave. That's why she was like $1,000, whatever.
Take it, yeah.
Take it. Like,
Oh my God.
It was out here. It was weird. I always got this like
Yeah,
weird,
did you?
creepy like feeling in that house. Too.
Yeah.
Like I'd be all alone.
You
and
guys could
stuff.
have been. It's like the premise for like a scary movie.
Oh, dude, totally.
That's crazy.
And like I would be downstairs, lights would be flickering, doors would like slam
No.
shut. Oh yeah.
Really?
Straight up, it was creepy.
Holy shit.
And then like having that like walking.
And you stayed there for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, I'm
Whatever.
waiting.
It's $1,000 a month, dude. Whatever. But like you like always had that feeling, especially being downstairs. It's like, you know, do your laundry really fast, and I'd be all by myself, and like out in the woods, kind of, you know, and like I would like run up the stairs, and like I would have this feeling that like something was like following me, like behind me. Just, like,
Oh my God, dude. I'm a scaredy cat. I don't know if I can tell that.
yeah, I don't know how I did it. Did it though.
Yeah. You're like, the rent is cheap.
Yeah, I just kept that in my mind all the time. $1,000. Can't beat that.
And did you live in San Jose?
No, I never lived in San Jose. Lived in San Francisco. I lived down in Irvine for a while. Yeah, kind of like bounced all over.
Okay, we're gonna keep this conversation going. Give me just a second. So we're gonna keep this conversation going. I feel like there's a good flow. You guys can get back to it. I feel like there's a good flow. What we're gonna do, you're welcome to keep the kind of organic conversation happening from here, but we have the discussion prompt 2A and 2B. It's gonna kind of continuation of this, but it's zooming into compost specifically, and then zooming into plastic specifically. So if you haven't talked about composting specifically or plastic specifically, these will help guide that conversation too. Feel free to continue this first question, but I just wanted to flag that there are 2 sort of discussion prompts around composting and plastics that you all can get into. So just from this first share, is there anything that any of the groups learned from what's happening with other tribes, other initiatives. Anything you guys want to highlight real quick before we move on to composting and plastics and zoom in? Anybody want to share? Fred.
Our group here, hi, Fred Briones, Big Valley Bono. Our group here, we had a member from the Chimash Santa Ynez, and he talked about a digester for their food composting. I was pretty amazed at that, because all the requirements and investments, but it's much needed. So hopefully you could present one day here at the conference and tell us more about something like that. Because it seems like from another one of my colleagues, they're going to start following the Santa Ynez Chimash on this composting, and that's part of what the state's initiative is, food composting. And I think we can learn a lot from the Santa Ynez. Thank you.
Thank you. I could hear a bit about the Burma culture, Burma composting a bit earlier. Anybody else share anything? Any highlights? Any specific challenges? Anything else you want to share with the group? Good to talk about somebody else. It's a pleasure over here.
I mentioned it in the earlier session, because we have a solid and hazardous waste ordinance that was voted on and approved by our tribal council that outlines some of the federal regulations and rules anyway, is what's down in writing, but also our expectations as well for residents not putting wastes that aren't appropriate, if you carry them around or is that kind of burning them or probably the germs, that kind of thing. So. And we also have a initiative, zero waste recycling initiative for our enterprises and our administration buildings. And so basically policies that every employee must recycle while they are clocked in. If you're on the clock and we're paying you, then we want you to do it our way and our ways to recycle properly. So you don't get to do it your way. You have to do it your way.
Right? Love that.
I want to add to that, if you remember Jared Blumenfeld, when he was the RA, I remember him saying that he went through the EPA offices and took everybody's waste baskets away. And then we had to figure out a message here. But yeah, if we were to recycle more at work, people take that home. That's a good idea.
Great. Yeah, we still don't have waste bins. I talked over you. Sorry about that.
I was that's that fault.
So just to report out, we still don't have waste bins at our desks at the US or at Cali, PA. So anybody else? All right. So you're welcome to kind of stick to this question one. I know it's free flowing. It's afternoon and everybody's talking. I hope that this gives you time to talk to people that you didn't get a chance to talk to before. But I also want to share the next discussion prompt. It's 2A and 2B. So we'll just flash through both of them for the folks that's on your paper. There's if you wanted to just dive into compost, I know there's a lot of people experienced around compost. I want to share and learn from what others are doing around compost, or really thinking about plastics, because I feel like sometimes we don't do much around plastics, it's just so convenient, but there's a lot of opportunity to reduce plastic waste as well. So you're welcome to tackle either or, you're welcome to just keep it free flowing, but we do have some guided questions around composting and plastics. So next slide for the Menti folks, and then for all of you, it's either discussion prompt 2A or discussion prompt 2B. And if anyone wants to read out those questions to your team or your group, and we've got some folks, if you want to shuffle around too, welcome to join other groups as well. All right, go for it. I'll call you back, and I'll try to be more graceful about it this time. All right.
Need a whistle.
Go check on these. I'll be right back.
So we've got one more minute for this discussion.
You guys have a way of seeing how many people are online?
There's 23 people online.
23?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been kind of like the average.
Yeah.
I think like the
Yeah.
most was like 32.
What's that?
Oh, it's the average. The most that we've had during all the sessions is only like 32.
Yeah, 23 is pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's good.
Today? Yeah.
And the speakers is
Is there a way to interact with them?
Yeah. There's a chat
I
going.
was wondering if you guys could suggest to them,
she put in the code.
Okay, just to remind me.
Okay.
Sometimes people need a little project,
Yeah.
especially online. So I'll probably just send a reminder. Hey, we have a minute left on this prompt. We're gonna go to the next one.
Yeah.
Please submit your responses. Really want to cover them for you better.
Oh, did that pick it up? That's it.
Right. Round two, that's all. Finish your thoughts.
Who's talking?
Alrighty.
You guys know how to get the DC to work?
I think they have it.
So for all of you to know, this is for those of you that submitted proposals to the EPA Region 9, these think tank sessions are a new format. So let us know how it can go. I think others probably have participated in some of the think tank sessions overall, but I really like hearing the dialogue. I like having people exchange and get to know one another. So this has been fun for me to watch. But I just wanted to hear back from any of you, if you wanted to share any of the composting specific, although we did hear a little bit about that, or any of the strategies to reduce single-use plastics. What have you been doing? What are some of the concerns around the single-use plastics? What are the challenges around the compost? Anything you want to just like flag and elevate to others that maybe the other groups didn't get a chance to hear? Anything you guys all want to share?
So we just had a short discussion right at the end here about this new thing, but a couple of us either work at a nursery or a botanic garden. So, or we both have nurseries, and one of the big things in nursery settings is the black plastic nursery pots. And believe it or not, those are intended to be single use. And part of the reason is actually, it has a reason to it, which is to prevent the spread of pathogens. And so I can't speak for my colleague here, but one of the things we do at my nursery is that I actually reuse those pots. There's a lot of work in trying to sterilize them. I'm using like isopropyl alcohol, and I was like clean off all the debris, and then I get it soaking basically with alcohol and let them sun dry for a while. So that's something I'm trying to do in my nursery setting, because the nursery industry, even though even native plant nurseries, all very green and all that, produces a ton of plastic waste just through those single-use nursery pots.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you leave them out in the sun too long, they turn into confetti. Yeah, thank you for that. What else? Any cool strategies? Anything else? I've heard a lot about like polystyrene to-go containers, events, things like that. Anything else like huge opportunities to reduce plastic waste that you all have noticed or tried to tackle? No plastic initiatives? You want to share? No? All right. Hopefully you guys heard some strategies, but definitely I've heard people really interested in that, and I've heard some good initiatives. I think San Antonio does some work around reducing plastics at events specifically, really trying to create zero waste events, zero waste powwow type of strategy, right? So that's very cool. All right. Let's go ahead and hop on to the next discussion question. Discussion question number 3. This is more like visionary. This is like, okay, all right, we've got this circular economy. Where do tribes fit into this circular economy? So these are opportunities, right? When I was at the Energy Commission, we were really thinking about, tribes were thinking about energy, because energy is expensive, it's costly, you can save money, you generate energy, but it's also could be a very big business opportunity, economic development opportunity. How can we think about circularity, circular economy as an economic development opportunity? At CalRecycle, we have some tribes that have established recycling centers. This is what this gentleman was talking about. We need more recycling centers. We just included liquor bottles and wine bottles, 10 cents a bottle for recycling. So collection centers are definitely something that we're trying to support on invest in. There's grants out there, recycling infrastructure grants. And then also composting, et cetera. Like we need to be able to compost to mitigate those greenhouse gas emissions. How are we going to do that in California? We need folks invested in that work, with stewardship, et cetera. The zero waste hierarchy here is a little bit blurry from whatever the slides like to do with all of us, but I just want to familiarize you all because most folks didn't know about the zero waste hierarchy, and they're all different. I just like to cherry pick a few. CalRecycle hasn't landed on what our zero waste hierarchy is going to be, but I just shown, and that's part of this zero waste plan. We're looking for input. Reduce and conserve materials, encourage cyclical use of resources, and shift incentives to stop wasting. I will say this sort of like top area as well. We're looking a lot at like reuse and refill, so you don't actually have to recycle containers, but you go in and you can reuse them. You can send them back to the milkman, right? You used to go collect the bottles. We're looking at a lot more of those systems, bringing those old school systems back. Manufactured, design products for sustainability and take back. That's, I guess, sorry, I was up here with that, but reuse, so I was talking about refill, recycle. Refill also could be those kind of water fountains where you come in and you bring your water bottle. That's a refill system, right? Like, can we see more of those? We're seeing them at schools, et cetera. Recycle and then regulate disposal, et cetera. That's one example of a zero waste hierarchy. There are many others. But what ideas, what possibilities, what systems do you guys have that you're working with that could potentially be supported by circularity? And I think I have some questions. I'm just going to prompt all of you all because you got it on your sheet. Let me see if I can finesse this quickly. All right, so what emerging opportunities exist for tribes in the circular economy? What materials are currently discarded that could be circular? Is there anything that you're throwing away that could actually get put back in the system? And making that circle smaller also keeps it closer, less energy, less work to make it and repurpose it and reuse it. What are the greatest barriers to zero waste, and what resources are needed to overcome these barriers? And how can the feds like Jenny, the state, and others better partner with tribes? I know Jenny's been doing it. She's been here for a while doing zero waste with tribes, so she's my idol now. So, all right, go for it. Zero waste. Think about it. Any sort of, even just businesses, ideas, materials.
The ghost?
Yeah.
It did that last year. So me and my coworker, we were talking about like we were having some random side conversation.
And you look down and you see it's all caps.
Or somebody from the chat was like, "Good mic is down."
Oh no.
But it was the
You're like, what?
yeah. We're like, I bet it's not yours.
That'd be so funny though. You see something like $1,000 rent. That's
Yeah.
unheard of.
So where was that?
Yeah.
Send me the link. Yeah, we were having this random conversation about how like something about how Obama only eats like 7 almonds a day. Like he's like super healthy, like he has a very like strict diet. We were just thinking about that, and it was like,
And then someone's like,
what are you talking about? That might be also why they're like they feel like Russell, like paper nerds.
yeah.
It's probably me.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, there it goes again. Great. Cheers.
Very extreme. Is it picking up from the computer mic?
It must be from this one.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. I'm afraid to touch it because I'm like. when it's a.
Just apologize. Sorry, everybody.
So you're the. It's always like a
Maybe one more minute. Okay, then turn this back. All right, so you all get awards for speaking it out through the conference. No, I'm kidding, but we do have a couple flyers here. This is our disaster debris removal work. Veronica's not here today, but she works with tribes, tribal monitoring for disaster debris removal. CalRecycle is just here, just wandered out, but I wanted to share with all of you, if you have a fire in your area, and CalRecycle is called to do it, we're not always called. CalRecycle is kind of our, big mission past us. But tribal monitoring, that is, and we want to do a good job of that for disaster debris removal post emergency disaster. And then I want to just highlight Fred's basket right here, Fred. This is all of our programs here. So Fred Briones is on our SB 54 advisory committee. So he's helping bring travel perspectives to that committee. But this is our list of all our CalRecycle programs too, around zero waste, circularity, all that good stuff, illegal dumping, tires, composting, etc. But let's go ahead and just close this out. So I'm going to go to the next slide too on this Menti, but just any final thoughts here? Anything like cool business ideas, circularity, opportunities, zero waste, beyond what we talked about that you guys don't want to share? It's okay if not, but all right. You better raise your hand. All right. So just because one of my mentors basically said, if you don't have hope, I wouldn't be doing this. If I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be doing this. Sometimes it feels hard to have hope. It's such an immense problem. Let's just think about waste as an immense problem. We've got other challenges, obviously, in this world. But is there anything kind of like coming out of this session or coming out of the tribal conference or whatever it might be that kind of gives you hope that maybe we can solve the world's problems or maybe just regenerate circularity and achieve zero waste? Anybody have any just comment?
I still think this comes out with people being educated. I think that's number one is education.
Great. Educating our youth, our people, our peers, keeping us informed. Anybody else? All right.
I think, one of the issues is really like around convenience. And we were just kind of touching on how, people are generally kind of lazy when it comes to having to put forth a few extra seconds to do something. We've tried some zero waste minutes, and we got recycling, we got compost. So I think along with that education piece is trying to find simple solutions that don't require a lot of thought process for people to implement. And then, examples and peer pressure.
Yeah. We made it really easy for people to waste a lot of stuff. I think we can make it really easy for people to do the right thing with that stuff and to maybe reduce that waste. Go for it, John.
This is a personal opinion, so it's not from the EPA, though we've seen this, but I have to say the power of the mandates that California is putting in, and especially if it starts trickling down to specific product categories like single-use plastics, it's convenient because it's cheap and convenient, and nobody telling them to do otherwise. If at some point you're told that single-use plastic is no longer cheap or it's no longer allowed, it makes it much easier for the mass population to do the right thing. So to the extent that there is smart regulation, even at the tribal level, to keep some of the more problematic wastes from coming in, or products from coming in, regulation is not always a dirty word.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, with that, I think anybody else? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate all of you. I'll just say what gives me hope is all the presenters that I saw at this conference, all of you talking and excited about these things, the passion that I've seen here, and I love the Tribal EPA Region 9 conference. So let's close it out. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Quiet online, huh? Oh yeah. Which is good.